What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Crew 2. And well, as y'all know, it is Wednesday, which means the new summit is live here on the game. And it's kind of insane how it's actually the last summit until August. I really do find it crazy, guys. We're like 45 days or so away from Motorfest, so time really does go insanely fast. But nonetheless, though, the Magic City Summit is now live, so you guys can actually get the Bugatti Veyron Edition 1 this week, which, if I had to guess, though, is most likely going to be the last chance you can actually get this car for an insanely long time, unless they do decide to bring something like this back in Motorfest. And I would probably say that's most likely not going to happen for a while. But this car does look pretty awesome, though. It's going to be white and or black, plus like the gold accents going around it. You're also going to notice those golden rims, so it's definitely a nice looking Bugatti. I believe it's going to be like number 34 on the list or so, because there are so many of these. But we do have to admit, though, it's actually a pretty nice looking car. And then in gold, we have the legendary half set boosted for the hypercars as well. So having a Fame Magnet set with followers and or bucks can be insanely useful. And you can also use sets like this to make you a lot more money. That way, when Motorfest does release, you actually own a lot more cars. Do keep in mind, though, if you guys are buying the cars now, you will also not be able to transfer them until Season 2. I would probably say that's going to be insanely important. But in silver, though, we have the yellow speed vortex smoke, which is basically just a V. But moving over to the Legacy Summit here, guys, with two Bugattis looking at each other. And then you will notice the platinum reward is indeed going to be a golden tire. I would actually say it is going to look kind of nice, especially those like big golden sidewalls. But I would most likely say on a monster truck is probably going to be the funniest way to use one of the tires. And then in gold, we have the Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG, which of course, if you guys do own these cars that do come out in these summits, you will actually get the money back for these vehicles. And or if you don't own it, at least it is going to be a free car for that matter. But in silver, we have a legendary half set boosted for the touring cars. That's of course going to be a loot digger set. And if you are trying to complete like some of your sets like a nitro chemist and or like one of the fame magnets, at least having a loot digger set's actually going to make your life a lot easier, and that way you can actually get some of those completed. But in this summit, though, it's going to be a huge mix of events. So we have two hypercars, a monster truck mixed into a street race. I can't wait to see which event that actually is. Then we're also going to have the RB14, a rally raid as well. So it does look like it's going to be a pretty fun summit. But moving over to the next one, Street Showdown's going to have the Mitsubishi Lancer 6 GSR Flow Edition. To be honest, guys, that's actually a pretty dope looking car. I cannot wait to use it. I also really love like that body kit, plus those rims and that livery look pretty dang sweet. So the way I look at this Lancer, though, is it is going to be a new drift car that's luckily not a limo. Who actually wants to use that thing? But in gold, though, we have the Cayenne Smoke and or Cian, like Ryan. Then we also have the Chevrolet Corvette ZR1, which is obviously going to be parts for that car. That way you guys don't actually have to spend the money on those. And finally, the next summit, Cities Championship, which is most likely going to be all the new city events. And in Platinum, we have the Fame Magnet boosted for the Alpha GP cars, so that is definitely going to be well worth a set to actually go after. We will have followers and or it does look like Pure on there, so I would definitely say having Bucks is most likely going to be a better option. Then in gold, we have the Dark Blue Nitro, which is going to be dark blue and or a nitro. Then in silver, we have a Chevrolet Camaro SS Touring Car Edition, which do keep in mind, guys, the touring cars are going to be much better than before. I would probably say a lot of players most likely own this car, but if you don't, though, at least you're going to get yourself a free car, which definitely helps with Motorfest around the corner. Overall, though, a lot of these summits are looking pretty dang awesome, including this drift car. And then moving over to the summit here now, starting off with the Speedtrap. So for this one, I know it's going to be shocking. I actually decided to run the Corvette Stingray, which is most likely a car you don't see. We all wish it wasn't. But actually, guys, getting around 400 miles an hour with this car is most likely going to be very simple. do keep in mind even the top players are getting like 134,000 points, so I honestly wouldn't lose your mind on this one. If you're only getting like 380 or so, if you guys do want to get well over 410, you will have to slipstream at least one other person, which I would say depending on when you do spawn in, there might be a lot of players there, and that way maybe you can like piggyback behind one of them. But moving over to the next skill is going to be an escape, and for this one I would recommend using the 1414 Demon. I really do think it's by far going to be like the best boat for this one. And once you guys basically hit that objective, you will then want to go left and then basically go right and follow this all the way up until the open area, and then obviously go as fast as you possibly can. And I would also say you could probably use the 1414 Demon on this slalom, but for me I actually decided to run the Vector V40R. This is actually going to be one of the longer slaloms in the game, so a 1414 Demon can definitely do this one with ease. I just really do love the way the Vector actually feels when flying around these, and I would actually say, guys, the skills in this summit most likely aren't going to be terrible. Is going to be a street race with the lovely Saleen S1. To be honest, this car is actually not as bad as I thought it was. I also do remember testing out this car back in the day. It did like 229, and in this, no, 229. And when using this car in this event, though, I actually hit around 240 plus miles an hour, so who actually knows? Maybe the Saleen S1's actually pretty decent. And the handling was also not as bad as I thought after messing around with the pro settings, so it really is crazy how good some of these street cars actually are. But moving over to the next event, guys, is going to be the Hypercar Race, where you get to test out the new Bugatti Veyron 1 Edition. So I would actually say a lot of players are most likely going to like this car. Do keep in mind though, guys, it is of course going to be base level with no pro settings either, so it's obviously like not going to be the fastest thing out there. But even with that though, I still found this car to be really fun to no. But even with that though, I still found this car to be insanely fun to use, so I would say a lot of players are still most likely going to like it. And then for the street race, guys, it is going to be no restrictions, so I definitely did not pick the best vehicle for this. I decided to run the Audi RS7 Sportback, and I would probably say there's going to be a lot of better options for this event, but the RS7 really is going to be insanely fun. Do keep in mind this is Miami Harbor, so there is going to be lots of turns and stuff on this, so having a car like the RS7 with like a higher top speed is most likely not going to be insanely useful on this event. And of course, going over to the next street race is also going to be no restriction. I actually decided to run the RS7 once again on this one, and I would actually say, guys, it's probably not going to be like the best car, but to be honest though, I really did like the way this car did feel on this event though. And it's kind of insane because the RS7 actually does like 285 miles an hour, making it like the fastest street car in the game. But to be honest though, that really doesn't help it. And then moving over to the next event, guys, is going to be a hypercar race. Do keep in mind this is also going to be Dallas, so I would be prepared to race for around at least 10 minutes or so on this event. I would also recommend jumping over the mountain and or like the guardrail at around 18%, which I would say is actually going to be pretty useful. That way you don't actually have to go around that corner. And overall though, guys, I have to admit the 720S Spider is actually a pretty dang awesome hypercar. Do keep in mind though, this car does around like 298 miles per hour, so you're not going to be flying down the highway doing like 330. I'm looking at you right now, 300 Super Sport, but even then though, the McLaren's still going to be a pretty fun car overall. And then moving over to the final event in this summit, it's going to be an Alpha GP race mixed into like an actual touring car event. So for this, you guys actually get to use the Proto Concept Glow Motorsport in one of the US Speed Tour City races in Miami. So, and of course you also get to use one of the new Alpha GP cars, which to be honest, guys, I really do feel like they're actually pretty decent. I would probably say if players did have a choice, so they'd most likely pick the Mark II. But my goodness, the Concept Glow is really not a terrible car, and of course this is going to be like a city US Speed Tour race, so do expect a lot of the turns to be insanely tight and also very close together, so I would be slightly careful how fast you actually go on some of the straightaways. But overall though, I did find this race to be insanely fun. Luckily, none of the events in this summit are actually annoying. We also have no frustrating escapes either, so that's always going to be a plus. But anyway, guys, if you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more insight.
you